Are you looking to take your personal finances to the next level? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not, with your host, Joseph Sangle.
Well, welcome to the I Was Broke, Now I'm Not Monday Money Tip Podcast. We are fired up to join you again on October 26th, 2020. It is episode number what?
121.
Yes, episode number 121. That is the voice of my co-host, Megan Hibbert. My name is Joseph Sangle. Megan, how are you doing on this fine Monday? Are you fired up?
I am good. How is everybody?
You ready to help people win with their money?
Yes.
Yes.
It's going to be a good day.
Morning. It's a great day.
Yeah.
And today, we're going to talk about something that we're really fired up about, and a lot of people we know are excited about. What's that?
Today, we are talking about debt. So specifically, we're talking about how the debt snowball works. So our question for today is, can you explain how the debt snowball works for paying off debt? I've always been told that I should focus on paying down debts that have the highest interest rate. So we get this question a lot. What do you do? Highest interest rate, biggest payment? What's the best way? So we're going to try to break it down for you today to show you the best way.
Yes. And before we dive into that, though, we want to tell everybody about our featured resource we've been telling about you all month long. Remind everybody what that is.
Yes, it's a great one this month. So our featured resource is the Oxen online study. So you have huge hopes and dreams for your life. Unfortunately, most of them will cost money, and it may appear, remember that's the key word, appear almost unachievable. So if you're doing everything possible to win with your money, but feel like you're spinning your wheels financially, this study is for you. So in the Oxen study, it's an online study. Joe shares ways that you can maximize your financial resources so you can experience an abundant harvest and fund your biggest dreams. Your dreams are huge. They can be funded. This 6-session online study will help you do it. So this month, for a limited time only, get the study for only $20. So just visit iwbnin.com/help to learn more.
Yes, absolutely. And before we dive into our theme today and talking about how to get rid of debt, we're first going to go to my favorite part of the podcast. We know what that is. Let's go.
Now it's time to get caught up with our current money events.
All right, this portion of the podcast is brought to you by the Next Steps section of I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. When you're looking to take your next step with money, start here. All of our favorite banks, investing companies, and money-saving ideas are all located right there. So just go to iwbnin.com and click on Next Steps.
Yes, and I love the current money events section. I love it so much. And today, I want to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart, and that is finding and funding your dreams. You know, you take the I out of finding, and you put a U in there, and you'll be funding them. And you know what? Funding dreams has a lot of fun things with it. And we're releasing this podcast on October 26th. 2020. As our regular listeners know, we talk a lot about living a fully funded life. One important part of living a fully funded life is discovering your dreams and figuring out how to fund that fully funded life. Finding and funding your dreams, we can say it an easier way. And well, tomorrow, I'm going to be embarking on a dream I have had since I was a very, very young child. Ask how young.
How young?
Since I was approximately 8 or 9. And my dream is, I'm going to tell you my dream in a minute, but I grew up on a small farm in central Indiana, just south of Indianapolis, maybe 30 minutes south of there, in a cornfield. My dad was a hunter, and he really enjoyed the outdoors. He still does, even well into his 80s. And he let us, back then, it was a big deal, Megan, we had a magazine subscription. Do you have any magazine subscriptions right now?
No.
I wonder if our listeners have any magazine subscriptions.
Maybe.
I have them because I redeem airline miles for them.
It's just something.
Yes. But I had a subscription to Field and Stream magazine and Outdoor Life magazine. Did you have those subscriptions?
To Field and Streams?
Yeah.
I can't say
Do you know what it was about?
Fields and Streams?
Yes. It was indeed. It brought much of the outdoors to my front door. Remember, this was long before the internet, long before YouTube, and I saw and read lots of articles about fishing for trout out west and salmon in Alaska. I read about trapping fur bearers and how it helped settle the West. And I read about adventures chasing elk, moose, black bear, grizzly bear, mule deer, white-tailed deer, mountain goats, bighorn sheep, caribou, black-tailed deer. You want me to go on? Yeah, I think I will.
Please.
Turkeys, rabbits, squirrels, grouse, partridge, quail, and a pheasant.
Partridge. It sounds like the Christmas song.
Yeah.
Partridge in a pear tree.
A partridge?
Just the song's playing in my head. Partridge
Through the years. Well, the partridge was in the pear tray. Now he's in the oven. Through the years, I've become a fairly accomplished hunter and fisherman. But tomorrow, yes, tomorrow, I am going to accomplish a dream that has finally been funded. Hunting out west for my mule deer and the mighty wapiti. also known as an elk. I've got a picture on the YouTube channel if you're watching us. You know, my single angle is that your dreams aren't going to be the same as mine. I'm pretty sure, Megan, you don't have a dream to go hunt the mighty wapiti, the elk.
I can't say that I do.
That's never going to happen.
I don't think
However,
so.
it's my dream, and I bet you have dreams I do not have. But you do have dreams, and every one of our listeners has dreams. And I want to ask each of you this question. Have you spent time discovering, also known as finding, your dreams? That's rung number 1. And if you spent time finding your dreams, have you also spent time funding them? Because fun starts the word funding. Because we want you to experience the same joy that I'm going to be experiencing through this upcoming trip, the joy of having found and funded a huge dream. And that's it for today's Current Money Events section.
Well, there you go.
Did you like that?
Yeah, that was good.
I thought it was pretty good.
Can't wait till we can talk about this trip because I feel like you've been talking about it for
Did
a
you know
long
elks
time.
bugle?
You want to give our listeners a little bit what that would sound like?
No. Just like I got Megan to laugh. It's
That's
awesome.
how we're gonna go
Let's go
viral
tell
right
a
there.
success story. I'm blaming it on you.
Yes.
And on YouTube,
Yes,
you get
yes.
to watch all this. It's crazy.
All right, our success story this week is from Todd. And 3 months after attending the FLE, Todd shared that he was already reaching some awesome milestones in his financial journey. So he says he's doing great and paid off a car loan, got a month's salary saved up, and God is truly blessing us. So that's awesome. Just the things he mentions them so casually, but paid off a car loan. That's a really big deal. Got a month's salary saved up, so he's working on his 1 month of expenses. Got that, and ultimately says he's doing great and working on his financial journey. So that's really exciting for Todd. We are very grateful that he would share his success with us.
It's amazing. I like to unpack this. I like it when we talk about success stories. These are so encouraging to us. It's why we do this. We're committed to the success of our listeners. And it's 3 months after attending one of our financial learning experiences. And one of the things I always know is I'm not really teaching a lot of new stuff. I'm really not teaching a lot of new stuff. What I am doing is reminding them of stuff. And I really hope what I'm doing is providing a moment of inspiration. We hope that this podcast provides some education with inspiration, with encouragement to help them take a next step. And in just 3 months, Todd has managed to put away 1 month's worth of savings. That's rung number 2 of the ladder. He's been able to pay off another debt, which was part of rung 4. And he is feeling, you can see where he's saying, God is truly blessing us, and that he's excited about that. And that's something that happens is when you can have a quick hit, a quick win in your journey, well, then that helps you stick with it. It's kind of like, people are on this fitness plan and they were able to run their first mile. I remember the first time I ran a whole mile without stopping. Or when people they're going on a diet and they get on the scale after 1 week. I got a friend right now. He had the major weight surgery, the bariatric surgery, and I've been following his journey. He's on week 4, and he was so pumped today. He lost another 5 pounds in the last week. And it's just like that when you see success, well, success breeds more success. And that's exactly what's going to happen for Todd. And I would just encourage every listener, take heart. Because if you focus, you're going to have a success, and that success will help you have the confidence, the energy to be able to stick with it till your next success. And by the time it takes a little while to get successes between successes, well, then you'll have enough belief, enough excitement along the way that will make that exciting. Awesome. So with that said, it's time for us to move to the major component of this, which is how to get rid of some debt.
Yeah,
Can you remind everybody of the question?
Yeah, I think it's actually a great segue when you're talking about getting big wins. And so we want to help you be able to get a big win. And one of the biggest wins that I think a lot of people hit is paying off debt. And so today we are going to talk about debt and how to pay it off. So our question is, can you explain how the debt snowball works for paying off debts? I've always been told that I should focus on paying down debts that have the highest interest rate. So a lot of people say that highest interest rate, highest bill, which one should I do? How can I make the biggest bang for my buck? So we want to make sure we help you with that. So what would you say to said listener?
Well, I would say for you to start with, what rung are we talking about really on the debt snowball? It is rung number 4 of the I Was Broke, Now I'm Not ladder.
Yeah.
And of course, we'll have a link to the ladder in the show notes at iwbnin.com/ladder. But you got to know this ladder because it helps make sure your decisions are done in order. And I first want to state that it's not wrong to focus on paying down debts with the highest interest rates first. That is not wrong. We're not saying that's wrong. However, we found something called the debt snowball technique to be, more effective because it addresses an emotional element that helps people stick to their debt freedom journey. And it really helps them stick with it long enough to actually achieve full debt freedom, that Rung for debt freedom date, which is all debt except for the house, and if you have business debt, except for that business debt. So all your student loan debts, car debts, truck debts, furniture debts, student loan debts, credit card debts. I've listed all of them and rattled off some of them twice. But the bottom line is it's all debt except for the mortgage and business debt if you have that. And so let me tell you how the debt snowball works. Okay, we like this technique the most. And the first step is to do what? Share that with everybody.
Yeah, so first, before we even start, you need to make sure, number one, is identify all debts.
Yes. So you have to identify all of them. And this is a magical moment. For most of our listeners, think about this. Do you really know how much debt you do have? Like, do you know? Like, do you have a mortgage, Megan?
We do.
Yes, so you're working on paying down a mortgage. Do you know exactly how much you owe on the house to the dollar?
I do, but we just bought it, so
Okay,
that's the
so
only
you just
reason
bought it,
I know.
So you know it almost to the nearest dollar. But here's the thing. When I first added up all of my debts, I had no idea I had that much debt. And that is an eye-opening moment that I think is very powerful for each of our listeners to do. If you're working on paying off debt, I encourage you to put all your debts into our debt freedom date calculator, which there'll be a link in the show notes, or scribble it down on a piece of paper, put it in your phone, whatever it might be, and add up all of your debts. You got to identify all of them. And the reason why I say you have to ID all of them is some of our listeners, Megan, have some, shall we say, aged debts. Isn't that funny how they pronounce it as two syllables? It's not aged debts, it's aged. They're old. They're senior citizen debts. They've been around a while.
Yeah.
In fact, we haven't paid them off, and they haven't been paid on for a while, so they end up just on the credit report, and we've moved 2 or 3 times. They can't even find us to send the letters saying we're late. And a lot of people carry these debts around. A lot of them are medical debts, a cell phone bill, a contract they didn't fulfill, a gym contract they didn't fulfill, and now they're chasing them to fulfill that contract. And so I encourage everybody to make sure in the process of identifying all your debts, you go to a website called annualcreditreport.com. And if you look at annualcreditreport.com, what it does is it allows you to be able to pull up the website, as we like to be able to see here, is being able to share that with every single person to be able to, and we'll have it in the show notes, annualcreditreport.com allows people to clearly see where their what old debts are there. And if you look at old debts, you'll be able to see, hey, this one right here, they still say I owe $841, and I didn't even remember I owed that. And so it's important to be able to write that down, to be able to get it on your list of old debts. And we can show it here on the screen. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the annualcreditreport.com is on here. And you can see that the big 3 are on here: Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. That's the big 3 credit reporting agencies. And by law, you get a free copy every 12 months. All you have to do is click the button, as I'm demonstrating on YouTube. But if you're driving and listening, just go to annualcreditreport.com. You'll be able to identify any old debts that are reporting negatively against your name. It helps you be able to identify all your debts. And after that, we have to go to the second step. Remember, we're helping people with their debt snowball. What's the next step, Megan?
Yeah, and I would also say, like, before we go to the next one, a lot of times your credit report has an error on it. So this could be an error where you see an old debt and you're like, I know I paid that. So that could also be another reason why you're wanting to look at that, just to make sure everything is right. You know all the debts. You might have forgotten one, but you know you still need to pay it. So that could be something too. But number 2 is make sure you sort the debts by the amount owed from the smallest to the largest. And like you said, we have a calculator that does that. So it's the Debt Freedom Date Calculator, and we'll include a link in the show notes, hard to say, so that you can do that. Easy open it. Easy to see it. We're actually going to pull it up on here so you can see what it looks like. But that's our website. You just go to it, and you can find it right there under our tools, under debt, and it will just download. You'll be able to pop those in easy enough.
And it's so interesting. I just want to state it again. This step is where you take all those debts you just identified and you sort them not by interest rate, but by amount you owe, the total amount of the debt from the smallest to the largest. That's a critical step. And so what we really want to be able to do is help you be able to pay off your debt rapidly. And it's so important to be able to do this in a way that helps you be inspired as you go. So once you sort them from the least amount owed to the largest, then we go to step number 3. What's that?
Yes. Step number 3 is pay minimum payments on all, keyword, all debts until you have achieved rungs 1, 2, and 3 on the I was broke, now I'm not ladder.
And this is such a critical component because a lot of people, they want to pay extra on their debt. They always pay a little extra on the credit card, a little extra on the mortgage, a little bit extra on the car, and they got their impact is lessened because of that. And they really want to get rid of debt because debt has a negative emotion and energy tied to it. So the big challenge becomes, hey, if you don't have savings, if you don't have that rung to a month's worth of money in savings, and you're trying to kill debt, every dollar extra goes to debt, every dollar extra to debt, well, life's still going to happen. An emergency, financial emergency is going to show up. It's going to cost money. Car's going to break down. Refrigerator's going to die. Kid's going to get sick. Medical bill, whatever it might be. And if you don't have money saved for it, you're going to use more debt to pay for it. And so that's why we say pay minimum payments until you're done with rungs 1, 2, and 3. Having your plans, hopes, and dreams written down, rung 1, that month's worth of savings, rung 2, and rung 3, making sure you're contributing enough to get the full company match at your company retirement plan or $100 a month, whichever is greater. So then once you've achieved those 3 things, then step 4 is what?
Yes. Step 4 is apply any extra money to the smallest debt.
Yes. So it's got to be to the smallest debt.
Yeah.
Why to the smallest debt? Because you want to see victories.
Right.
And if you have extra money going to the smallest debt, well, that would be the one that leaves the fastest. And of course, sometimes because you have a larger payment towards a car or something, and maybe you're closer to that, it may be pay off before one of the smaller debts does. That's okay. When it pays off, take its payment and add it to the smallest one remaining. The whole key is, it's called a debt snowball because if you grew up anywhere or if you visited anywhere like I did in Indiana and you get that slushy snow that falls, that awesome early season snow that sticks together and you can roll it over 3-4 times and it's a giant part of a snowman, that's the same thing that happens. When you pay off one debt, you get to add its payment to the next payment. And that's when you start seeing big, big victories. And I just want to tell all of our listeners, it might take a year to get your first debt gone. I urge you, do whatever it takes to make it be faster than that. But it might take a year. After that, it might take you only like 5 months to get the next one. And it might take 1 month for the next one because of the snowball effect. And we're going to show an example of that here in a minute.
Yeah, and we recently did an episode about celebrating your wins, and I feel like this is the time when you actually really need to do that. So if you didn't listen to the episode, I'll include a link in the show notes, but it talks about how to sustain that. So you're working on this debt, and maybe your first debt is going to take you a while, and so you need to find markers that you can celebrate. Hey, we did this, let's celebrate. Hey, okay, we've got to this next part, let's celebrate that. And so I feel like that's going to be huge for sustaining this debt freedom date.
Absolutely. And then after we start applying money to the smallest debt, let's go to step 5. What's that?
Yes, step 5 is when the smallest debt is eliminated, add its monthly payment to the next smallest remaining debt.
Exactly. So sometimes, this larger debt balance will eliminate before the smallest debt balance is paid off, as I just shared. And so one of the things I really want to make sure you think of is this fact that when that pays off, the principle still applies. Take any money that's been freed up, whether it's from a larger debt that paid off early, or you got a bonus or anything, as long as rungs 1, 2, and 3 are in place, any extra money goes to the smallest debt remaining. And then it goes away. So I wanted to share a quick example that we can show on the debt snowball. And if you watch it on YouTube, I encourage you, if you have a chance to go look at it, you can speed forward to it. It'll be somewhere around the 18-minute mark, 19-minute mark of the podcast for the debt snowball. But the way this works is we got, 5 debts here. We have a furniture debt, we have 2 credit cards, we have a vehicle debt, and a student loan. Does that sound pretty common for the average person?
Yeah, I think so.
All your friends? Yep. I'm serious. We have a lot of friends who have these. So you got some furniture debt. It's the smallest debt. It's $2,000. And you pay minimum payments on all debts until you get to rung 4. You're done with rungs 1, 2, and 3. You've got that emergency fund in place. You're contributing money to retirement. And now you're off and running. So it will take 16 months to pay off the first debt. So $2,000 divided by $125, let's say they bought the furniture, 24 months, same as cash. It'll take 16 months to pay it off. This is without any pay raise, no bonus, nothing. Just standard, just working the system. It'll take 16 months for the first victory. Isn't that crazy? That's a long time. That's a year and 4 months. But watch this. When you pay that off, the $125, do you just start spending it every month on something else? No. Finance something else for $125 a month? That won't work, right? What's the first rule of holes? When you're in one, stop digging. So 16 months later, you add it to the credit card that had an $87 minimum payment. Remember, you're paying minimum payments on all debts except for the smallest remaining one. And so all of a sudden, all the other debts have went down because you stopped digging. $212 is now being able to go to credit card one instead of $87 in 6 more months, not 16 more months, but 6 months, it's gone. And then you have $328 in month 23 to apply to credit card 2. It's only got a balance of $375 remaining. So a little over a month, it's gone. So think about this. The process was 16 months for the first victory, 6 months for the next victory, 1 month for the next victory. Suddenly they'll be really fast. And the value of this is when you get to this car that seems so huge, by the time you get there, your payment is so big because the furniture and the credit cards are all eliminated. You've got a $723 payment in less than 3 months, it's gone. And then you get to the student loan and Sallie Mae, Navient, Federal Direct Loan, Nelnet, Great Lakes Servicing, whoever has your student loan payments, well, you can break up with them in less than a year or a little over a year. And in this example, in 36.8 months, without a pay raise, without a tax refund, without any extra money, without getting a tax refund, no bonuses, no extra job, no overtime, they paid off their house, paid everything off but their house, Rung 4. They're done with Rung 4, and they freed up $927 a month. How amazing is that? Yeah. And that is what I wanted to be able to share with everybody, is how powerful this example is. And so one tip that I do want to say, and I want to reiterate it, I've shared it a couple times, and that is this. None of this works if you keep signing up for more debt. It just won't work.
Yeah.
And so share some thoughts you have about that.
Yeah, and in that moment when you're working on this and you're putting extra money towards that, I think it's important to remember that it's not forever. So you're cutting back on things, you're trying to prioritize. Right now you're on Rung 4, you're trying to prioritize the debt, and so you're working on paying that off. And so maybe you're cutting things out, maybe you're not going out as much to eat, maybe you're not spending as much shopping, maybe you might have to break up with a few subscriptions, so maybe Amazon needs to leave, or Netflix or Hulu, or maybe you just have one of them for a little bit. But like, it's not forever. We're not saying that. We're just saying for right now, when you're focusing on this, you're putting your head to the plow and you're working, trying to pay off your debt. And so like, just know it's not for now. It's not forever, just for now.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so the quote in the verse for today is a funny one I saw, and that is, the only man who sticks closer in an adversity than a friend is a creditor. I think that's interesting. And that's true. You know, if you don't pay your debt, suddenly they really care about your welfare. They do welfare checks really often, trying to find out where that money is. And so next episode, we're super excited. We're going to be joined in studio with a success story with a couple who's just achieved great financial success. So tell everybody what's coming next week.
So next week, we're going to have, like Joe said, we're going to have Pastor Jeff Manis and his wife Sabrina with us. And so they are all the way from Wyoming. They're coming down here to spend some time with us, and we're super excited about that. They have an incredible success story that you're not going to want to miss. So I want to give it all away, but it's so good that I'm going to keep it. So you're going to have to tune in, but it's really good. If you have kids, this is going to be good for you. If you have a spouse, this is going to be good for you. They touch on so many different aspects of marriage and money, kids and money, finances, how that all works. And he's in ministry, so how does that work? It's going to be really great, so you don't want to miss it.
I think a lot of people will be very inspired. And one of the things I would just tell each person who's listening to this podcast today, you may not be struggling with debt. You may be able to easily manage paying for your debt. But I would ask you the question, what would life look like if you got rid of that debt? How much money could you free up? How much more could you give away? How much could you save? What other dreams could you fund? I started out by talking about the fact that I get a find, and I found, and I have funded a dream that I have that starts tomorrow. And I urge you to be able to focus on eliminating this debt so that you can free up the money so that you can have a more fully funded life. And if you like this episode, man, I know there's people in your life who have debt. I strongly encourage you. Will you please share it with them? Go to YouTube, watch the Debt Snowball example with them. click the subscribe button. I encourage you to send it via email or post it on your social media platform to help to get the word out there, because we know so many people are fighting this debt thing and they want to be free of it. And so any last words you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, I just had something in my head I was going to share, and it just like popped out. I like drawing blanks on everything. What was I going to say? Oh, it was like a good point too. Don't you hate when that happens?
Well, I'll wrap it up. Hey, listen, that's
I'm going to
happened
remember
before.
it at like
There
3
we go. I love it,
a.m.
putting Megan on the spot. Hey, I'll just say this. For me, it went faster than what I calculated. I calculated 19 months, but there's something about sniffing the finish line that I was able to achieve it in 14 months. And I believe that can happen. And Megan is doing cheerleading.
I remember.
So she's going to wrap it up.
Okay. When you pay off your debt, let us know, because we want to hear about it. So when you make fun of me, because I was like, pick on me. But we want to hear about it. We want to be able to celebrate with you. So when you say, or when you do your debt freedom date and you know, hey, these are the times I'm going to pay it off, let us know so we can, help you along the process. But when you pay off that debt, let us know, because that's an exciting moment that we want to celebrate with you.
Yes, that's awesome. So, hey, happy Monday, everybody. Go calculate your debt freedom date, pull up that credit report, calculate your debt snowball, and get on your way to your debt freedom march and debt freedom date. God bless. Have a great week.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe. And for more great content and to stay up to date, visit iwbnin.com. We'll catch you next time.